Hi everybody, Colin from the Bike Dads here, and today I want to take you through Norco's 24-inch full suspension bike, the Fluid FS. So first off, I really got to hand it to Norco for actually deciding to go ahead and build a bike like this. This is probably one of the most progressive bikes you'll see for a 7, 8, or 9-year-old, and it absolutely rips for those hard charging kids. So this is 145 millimeter front travel and 120 millimeters of rear travel. What really separates this bike out is the geometry. So you're looking at a 64.5 degree head angle and about a 350 millimeter reach. This effective seat tube angle is about 75 degrees. So this is really a scaled down progressive enduro bike. So it's a SRAM drivetrain, 11 to 42 tooth 11 speed NX derailleur. It has a 30 tooth front chainring that is paired with the SRAM NX 155 millimeter cranks. Now the crank length, they do make a 20-inch version of this bike that has 140 millimeter cranks. I'd probably prefer that unless I'm putting a bigger kid on the fit range of this bike on it, but that's sometimes you have to compromise there. So the wheel set on this bike is pretty incredible for a 24-inch bike. It's the Sunringley Duroc 30s. So it's a wide rim, and if you put something like these Maxxis Minion tires on there, they're 2.3 I believe, it really spreads that casing out wide and makes for incredible grip. So this bike is very, very capable. Lots of room for tire clearance as it's boost spacing in the rear. So that 120 mils of cush, that comes from this Fox Float DPS shock with a climb switch on it. So you can hit the switch if you're going to do a long climb and it won't bob. You also have this 100 mil Trans X light action dropper, which worked phenomenal with the little kids. It's something that you're going to want if you're going to be climbing this bike. Speaking of climbing, this is a almost 30-pound bike, and it has incredibly grippy Maxxis Minion tires, as I mentioned. So it's not going to be the bike you're going to want if you're doing huge climbs to earn your turns, or if you're perhaps wanting to use the bike on flatter terrain where maybe a more appropriate bike like a hardtail would even range supreme. This bike is intended to go downhill, and when gravity takes over, this bike is absolutely amazing. As I mentioned, it's kudos just to the fact that Norco decided to build this bike, as it's meant for kids in this age, 7 to 9, maybe even 10, that can absolutely rip a bike. The horse link suspension works amazing, just soaks up every bump. And when I was following my 9-year-old down some, pretty steep technical type terrain, I was amazed by right away how comfortable he was and how fast he could go on that terrain. It took him no time to get adjusted to the bike and to get up to speeds where pretty much our trail speed. It was quite amazing, to be honest. Some of that performance has to be a credit to this Manitou Machete 145 millimeter 24-inch specific fork. It is a really great fork. It is stiff, it's light, and it performs amazing. Now the tune may be a bit on the hard side, but it's a fully tunable fork, so if you have a lighter rider, you can actually adjust it. I didn't have too much of a problems after I got the setup dialed, the right air pressure. I ran it a little lower than suggested, but I was able, once I cycled the fork through, to get it to get its full range of travel for my 9-year-old. So the Shimano MT500s are some of my favorite brakes. If you're familiar with XT and the SLX, it's a similar lever. It has reach adjust. They're very easily bled. Top brakes for kids, in my opinion. You get 180 millimeter front and 160 millimeter rear rotor. You get the SDG contact kit with the bike, so that's pedals, bar, grips, and seat. Big fan of the seat. The bars are really nice too because they're a narrower grip. The pedals, in my opinion, for a 24-inch bike, I'd like something grippier. So we went ahead and swapped out the pedals. So when you're looking at this bike, keep in mind the terrain you're riding. If you've got that hard charging, like I said, 7 to 10-year-old, that's going to be riding a lot of lift access, maybe shuttling, and will climb the odd trail. This bike is it. In steep terrain, it's unbelievable. I don't think there's angles like this elsewhere in the 24-inch full suspension category necessarily. This bike is like a little enduro or downhill bike. It's incredible how fast it can go when gravity takes over. For more information on the Norco Fluid and bikes in general, head to our website, www.thebikedads.com.